imagine this. It's May 25th, 1979, a Friday morning in Manhattan. Pretty ordinary, right?
Seems like it.
But for one little boy, Etan Patz, 6 years old, it was huge. His very first time walking alone to the school bus stop.
Wow, Independence Day.
Exactly. Just 2 blocks. He had his blue corduroy jacket on, that sort of oversized future flight captain cap, you know?
I can picture it.
And this blue tote bag with elephants, his toys inside, and $1 for a soda later. His mom, Julie, she watched him go.
Nervous, I bet.
For sure. She watched him cross Worcester Street looking so grown up. And then, well, he just vanished. Gone. So this deep dive, we're getting into the disappearance of Etan Patz. It's a case that, well, it's still unresolved in some ways, isn't it?
Absolutely. And it completely changed the conversation around missing kids in America. Child safety, everything.
Yeah, fundamentally reshaped it. Our mission today is to unpack all of that. Etan's vanishing, the decades-long search.
The legal twists and turns.
Right. The trials. And this huge, sometimes kind of contradictory legacy it left. We've got articles, research, expert analyses. Let's get into it.
Let's do it.
So that morning, May 25th, it was the last day of school before Memorial Day weekend.
Right. Everyone's ready for the break.
And Etan's mom, Julie, she ran a home daycare. Place must have been buzzing.
Busy household.
And Etan, you know, like lots of 6-year-olds, he'd been pushing for it. Let me walk alone. This time she said yes.
That one, yes. And it turned into, well, a nightmare. He never made it to school.
Never got there.
And what's just astonishing looking back is his teacher noticed he wasn't there, his first grade teacher, but didn't report it to the principal. Just didn't.
Wow. So no one knew officially until later.
Not until 3:15 p.m. when he didn't walk back through the door. That's when Julie and Stan Patz realized he was missing.
And they called the police right away?
Immediately. But here's where you hit that wall of the late 70s, early 80s reality. Many police departments, they had mandatory waiting periods.
Waiting periods for a missing child.
Yeah, sometimes 24, even 72 hours before they'd formally accept a missing persons report.
It's terrifying to think about.
72 hours? That's unthinkable now.
It is. Law enforcement just wasn't equipped, you know? Not for something like this. They didn't have the protocols.
So what did that initial search look like then, in those first hours, days?
It was intense, but kind of chaotic by today's standards. Neighbors, police going door to door, a real community effort, but fragmented.
Desperate.
Absolutely desperate. And the lack of coordination, that delay, it was painfully obvious they needed a better system.
And Etan's dad, Stan, he was a professional photographer.
Yes. And he used his skills in the most gut-wrenching way. He created these professional quality photos from missing posters.
Those posters, they were everywhere, weren't they?
Everywhere. Those images of Etan, they got seared into the public consciousness. Just heartbreaking.
You mentioned the investigators, too, the emotional toll.
Oh, huge. There was this former NYPD detective, Patrick Aniello. He talked about it later, how he had a son Etan's age.
Yeah. Said he just felt like breaking down sometimes. It hits close to home.
So that initial response, the delays, the sort of scramble, it really highlighted the gaps.
Totally. It showed how much the system needed to change. That lack of immediate official action, the missing protocols.
Yeah.
It created this terrifying void.
And it really pushed things forward, eventually.
It had to. Those early failings were a harsh lesson. They really underscored why every single second counts. It drove the push for new policies.
So the search itself, it wasn't quick. It went on for, well, decades.
Decades. And it was just this long, winding road. So many false leads, fake confessions.
I read young men even showed up at their door claiming to be Etan.
Can you imagine? Just adding to the agony. For a long time, though, the main suspect was a guy named Jose Ramos.
Okay, Ramos. What was his connection?
He was a friend of Etan's former babysitter, Susan Harrington. She'd actually walked Etan to school sometimes during a bus strike.
Okay. And Ramos himself?
He had a really disturbing history, a convicted child molester. Then, in '82, he gets picked up for stealing books.
Right.
And they find him living in a drainage tunnel with him. Disturbing photos of kids, and one looked, well, a lot like Etan.
Chilling. Did he ever confess?
Sort of. In 1988, he gave what he called a 90% confession. Claimed he was 90% sure he picked up a young blonde boy in Washington Square Park on May 25th, 1979.
The day Etan vanished.
The day. Said he took him to his apartment, molested him, then put him on the subway. But crucially...
He didn't say he killed him.
Never confessed to murder, no. There was this federal prosecutor, Stuart Grublaw, who chased this case for 20 years, leads all over the world.
Wow.
But it always came back to Ramos, Ramos served time in Pennsylvania, actually, for molesting another boy, 8 years old, but for Etan.
Not enough evidence for criminal charges.
Exactly. No direct corroborating evidence to tie him definitively to Etan's disappearance for a criminal trial.
So the family, they're left with this suspect, this partial confession, but no criminal conviction. What do you even do then?
It's an impossible situation. They made an incredibly difficult choice. To get some form of justice, they decided to pursue a civil case.
A civil case for a wrongful death.
Right. But to do that, Etan had to be declared legally dead first.
Oh, God. When did that happen?
That was in 2001. Just heartbreaking. This civil case has a lower burden of proof, preponderance of the evidence, not beyond a reasonable doubt.
And they won.
They did.
Right.
2004, they won a $2 million wrongful death civil judgment against Ramos.
Did Etan Patz speak out then?
He did. His words are just raw. He said, "I believe this man stalked my son. I believe he lured him back to his apartment. I think he used him like toilet paper, and I think he threw him away."
Just devastating.
It really shows the lengths families go to, doesn't it? When the criminal system can't deliver, they seek answers, closure, anything through other means. It points to the system's limitations.
So even with that civil win, the criminal case, still cold.
Still unsolved.
Yeah.
Until 2010. Cyrus Vance Jr. was the incoming Manhattan DA.
Right.
And Etan Patz appealed directly to him, asked him to reopen the case. And Vance did.
So a fresh look. What happened then?
Well, that led to a new burst of activity. Remember that big excavation in 2012?
Vaguely, yeah. Near Etan's home. A workshop.
Exactly. They dug up a handyman's workshop basement. Huge media attention. Didn't find anything physical related to Etan, sadly.
But the publicity did something.
It generated a flood of new tips. And one of those tips pointed investigators in a completely new direction, towards a different suspect.
Not Ramos.
No. A man named Pedro Hernandez.
Pedro Hernandez. Who was he?
Back in 1979, he was just 18, worked as a stock boy in the bodega right near Etan's bus stop.
The bodega Etan was walking towards.
The one. Police got a tip from a relative of Hernandez. Said he'd confessed years ago, way back in 1981.
Confessed to what?
To doing something bad to a child in New York. Said he'd even confessed it in church, like an open confessional.
Okay, wow. So what did the police do?
They brought him in for questioning. And this is where things get really complicated legally. He was questioned for about 6 hours. But that initial questioning, it wasn't recorded. And he wasn't Mirandized. Read his rights.
Not recorded, not Mirandized. For 6 hours.
Correct. Only after that did they do a videotaped confession.
And what did he say in the video confession?
He said he lured Etan into the bodega basement with the promise of a soda, choked him there, put his body in a box,
Oh my God.
and left the box in a trash pile a couple of blocks away.
Did investigators believe him?
They found it credible. They cited his remorse, but also a specific detail he mentioned. Something about a door in the basement.
A door.
Yeah. He described a door that, it turns out, wasn't actually there in 1979. It was added later.
So how is that credible?
Well, the prosecution argued this was actually proof it was true. Like, it showed he was recalling the scene accurately from later visits or knowledge, something only the killer would know, even if his memory of the exact moment was slightly off about the door's presence then. It was a key piece for them.
Okay, that's complex. What did the defense say?
The defense hit back hard. They argued Hernandez had a very low IQ, suffered from mental illness, schizotypal personality disorder, they said.
So a false confession. Coerced.
That was their argument. Coerced during that long unrecorded questioning. His lawyer, Harvey Fishbein, also pointed out things like nobody at the bus stop actually saw Etan go into the bodega that morning.
Right.
And they never found Etan's elephant tote bag or his toys or anything in that basement, despite Hernandez's story.
So conflicting stories, confession issues led to the trials.
Exactly. The first trial was in 2015. Ended in a mistrial. Hung jury.
They couldn't agree.
11 jurors voted to convict, but one held out. Juror Adam Sirah. He just wasn't convinced.
Why not?
He cited Hernandez's mental state, that initial unrecorded questioning.
Right.
He had reasonable doubt. Etan Patz was devastated. He asked, how many times does a man have to confess before someone believes him?
Heartbreaking. But they tried him again.
They did. Second trial in 2017. This time, after 9 days of deliberation. Guilty. Found guilty of murder and kidnapping. Sentenced to 25 years to life. Etan Patz said publicly, it is about time. Some sense of relief, finally.
And finally over. Or maybe not.
Well, that's the thing with this case. It just kept evolving. Very recently, July 2025, A federal appeals court overturned that conviction.
That overturned it. Why?
They found the judge's instructions to the jury were flawed, specifically on how to evaluate whether Hernandez's confessions were truly voluntary given his mental state and that initial interrogation.
So the instructions were clearly wrong.
That's the language they used. Clearly wrong and manifestly prejudicial. So they ordered either a new trial or his release.
Unbelievable after all this time.
It really throws the spotlight back on the justice system, doesn't it? Balancing justice for victims like Etan with the rights of the accused, especially when a confession is basically the whole case and there are questions about how it was obtained. Legal nuances having huge impacts decades later.
It's incredible. But beyond the courtroom drama, Etan's case, it changed everything outside, didn't it? Society, parenting.
Oh, massively. It ignited what people started calling the missing children panic. It truly fundamentally altered American society.
And milk carton kids, that was Etan, right? The first one.
He was the first national milk carton campaign in 1985, yes. His face became iconic.
Oh.
But it's worth noting, there were actually local efforts before that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, kids like Johnny Gosch and Eugene Martin in Iowa, their faces were on local milk cartons in 82, 84. But Etan's was the big national push.
Did it work? Did it find kids?
Honestly, not really. It was highly visible, huge public awareness, but largely unsuccessful in terms of recoveries.
Why not?
Because the vast majority of child abductions aren't stranger danger cases, which the campaign implied. They're usually by family members or acquaintances.
Oh, okay.
Plus, milk consumption dropped, packaging changed to plastic jugs, and there's criticism, too, about racial bias, mostly white kids featured, and the trauma for kids seeing those faces at breakfast.
Trauma, yeah, I can see that. Was there any success?
There was one widely cited case, Bonnie Lohman. She actually recognized her own face on a carton years after being taken by a non-custodial parent.
Wow, one case. So the impact was more symbolic.
Largely symbolic, but it did lead to concrete changes, like National Missing Children's Day.
When is that?
May 25th, the anniversary of Etan's disappearance. President Reagan declared it in 1983. A national commitment.
And that commitment led to organizations?
Directly. The Patz case, along with another terrible case, Adam Walsh in 1981.
Adam Walsh, right?
Those two cases directly led to the founding of the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, NCMEC, in 1984.
NCMEC, they're still huge today.
Absolutely central. Ernie Allen, one of the co-founders, said it best, America has fundamentally changed the way it searches for missing children. NCMEC became the hub, the resource center that just didn't exist before.
And things like Amber Alerts, they came out of this legacy too.
They built on that foundation, yes. Amber Alerts are named for Amber Hagerman, 9 years old, taken in 1996. And they are effective. CNN reported like a 96% recovery rate back in 2018.
That's amazing. So real progress there. But you also mentioned parenting changed. The stranger danger thing.
Oh, profoundly. Before Etan, kids just had more freedom, You played outside, walked places. Afterwards, that stranger danger narrative became absolutely pervasive.
Everywhere.
Lisa Cohen, who wrote a book called After Etan, she talks about how parents became very fearful, sometimes maybe excessively so.
Excessively? How?
Well, if you look at the stats, over 95% of kids reported missing are actually runaways. And most non-family abductions involve teenage girls, not young boys, snatched by strangers off the street.
So the fear didn't quite match the stats.
Exactly. Public perception, fueled by these high-profile tragic cases like Etan's, kind of skewed the anxiety way up, disproportionately to the actual statistical risk. It changed how a whole generation raised their kids.
That's fascinating. But let's look at those stranger abduction stats, because they are terrifying. Even if rarer, what do they tell us?
They underscore the absolute urgency. The time factor is brutal. Almost all kids abducted by strangers who are killed within 24 hours.
Within 24 hours?
Yeah. 40% are killed before they're even reported missing. 50% within the first hour. 75% within 3 hours.
3 hours. That just reinforces why that waiting period back then was so catastrophic.
Absolutely critical. Immediate reporting is everything.
What about the perpetrators? You mentioned stats there, too.
Yeah, some patterns emerge. Vast majority are unemployed at the time. If they have a job, construction shows up more often than other occupations.
And where do these happen?
Close to home, usually.
Yeah.
80% are taken within a quarter mile of where they were last seen. A third within just 200 feet of their own home.
So, not elaborate plots, usually.
Mostly crimes of opportunity. The stats show 57% are opportunity-based. Only 15% knew the child, 14% selected based on appearance.
Crimes of opportunity and their behavior afterwards.
Also interesting patterns. About 22% go back to the disposal site, 21% leave town. 18% actually confide in someone. 17% follow the case in the media.
Wait, Pedro Hernandez, he confided in family, left town eventually?
His behavior does align with some of those statistical trends, yeah. And one more stark number. 98.5% of these abductor killers are male.
That data. It really puts a fine point on the reality of these horrific crimes.
It really does. And while Etan's case led to so many vital improvements, NCMEC, Amber Alerts, faster responses, it also highlights issues we're still dealing with.
Like what?
Like bias in media coverage.
Yeah.
Think about the wall-to-wall coverage for someone like Gabby Petito versus the, frankly, minimal attention often given to missing Indigenous women.
That's a huge issue. The disparity.
Or even comparing cases like Amber Dubois and Chelsea King. It underlines this ongoing need for truly unbiased law enforcement focus and media attention for all missing children, regardless of their background.
We have to see the human element in every case.
Exactly. As Colleen Nick, whose own daughter Morgan disappeared, always emphasizes, never lose sight of the human being, the family, behind the statistic or the headline.
What a journey this case represents. Etan Patz. It's just such a heartbreaking story. A child lost, this family's unending fight for answers, and these legal twists that continue even now.
Decades later, still unfolding.
But his disappearance, undeniably, it was a catalyst. It forced change, transformed child safety in America, paved the way for better protections, quicker responses.
For sure. A terrible catalyst, but a catalyst nonetheless.
So when you look at it, all the ongoing legal questions in Etan's own case, the huge societal shifts, those sobering statistics, it leaves you thinking, doesn't it? What's the real measure of success when it comes to protecting kids?
It's a tough question.
And how do you balance that desperate need for justice for victims with ensuring the legal system is fair, especially when, like in Etan's case, clear, definitive answers just seem to stay out of reach?
Yeah, that tension.
Yeah.
It's right at the heart of it.
Something for all of us to think about long after this deep dive is over.